This is the W5SC repeater, PL110.9. Ham Fixin's Net, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5SC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Ooh, it is 9 o'clock. Does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, break, very enthusiastically, followed by your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Now, please come out. This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net is on this frequency with a PL tone of 110 decimal minor. Check-in speed. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org, w5fc.org, right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long. I think we're going to be a little light tonight, but let's say 90 minutes at this point, structured in several parts. We have general announcements, and that's with anybody on the net. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, recent satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and the 73 round. Oh, and by the way, if anybody knows, somewhere during this net, it is believed that the first stage of the Long March rocket that launched the core module for the Chinese space station is destined to break up in the atmosphere. So if anybody has any information on that with the latest breaking, please let me know, since I won't be able to keep up right now. So let's go ahead and start with low-power short-time check-ins. If you are one of those, please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low-power short-time. Here we go.
Q5, Fox Papa No. The name's Guy, Golf Uniform Yankee, low power from Arlington.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen, short time.
Okay, I got two stations, and there may be a third one out there. Guy, you got covered over. I've got you low-power Arlington. Could you give me your call again, please?
Hey there, this is Guy. Call sign is Kilo Golf 5, Foxtrot Papa November.
All right, I got you. Kilo Golf 5, Papa November. Guy over in Arlington. Low power. And Guy, you may want to check your push-to-talk or something. You're cutting in and out. Your signal seems okay, but so you might want to check push-to-talk. If not that, try power. I don't know. but I do hear you, and I got you on that second time. And 5WI, that would be William over in Allen. Any other low power short time? All right, do either of you have anything you want to bring to the net, an announcement or a bulletin or anything? Please come with your call. Okay, let's go to general check-ins. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
Man, I usually get crushed in the first round, but it's very quiet out there. I've got K5KOB, that would be Philip and Crandall. I got NT5TM, Tony and Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come now.
This is
05 Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto.
This is Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richardson.
November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Ranch.
Okay, well, it's going to be a slow beginning. I got WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. Got AA5AH, Robert and Richardson. N5BB, Mr. Bill in Irving. And K5ZBL, Mr. Bill in Farmers Branch. Any additional check-ins, please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Kilo Uniform. David, Mesquite.
This is November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Performance.
Two, Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James Carrollton.
All right, let me go ahead and get some check-ins. I'll just got someone over on checking in. Okay, KG5UC, that's David in Mesquite. N50F, I'm sorry, yeah, it's David in Mesquite. N50F, Clay, I believe, also in Mesquite. KG5VL, that's James in Carrollton. And K5QOR, that's Thomas. He's got a Troop 83 at Enchanted Rock State Park. So they wanted to find out what this is all about. All right, Scouts, there'll be a test at the end, so be ready. I'll let you know what those are. Additional check-ins before I go to Echolink. Please come down.
Kilo India 5, Papa Hotel Charlie, Neil and Lake Highlands, and hello to the Scouts out at Enchanted Rock. Y'all should have great weather.
Yeah, I agree, Neil. Neil. KI5HC, we got you over in Lake Highlands. I will now go to Echolink. Echolink, check-ins, please. Come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from today.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, coming to you this week from Duty Butte.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
All right, I picked up two. I got K5KTX. That's Miss Kelly. She's somewhere. Kelly, I got to tell you, you're breaking up quite a bit. We'll see when we get to your section. I don't know if there's anything you can do because I know you are on the road. But when it gets to your section, we'll go ahead and try it and see how your signal is. Hopefully it will improve somehow, but you're cutting in and out very seriously, which may be a little difficult for the presentation, but we'll see. I got KG5BZW, that's J near Weatherford, and I guess N5IMS is out there. That would be JJ in Carrollton. Anyone else on Echolink who would like to check in, please come now. All right, I'll just open it up to anyone who'd like to check in any mode. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, I did pick up one over on Echolink. I've got Aaron, N5AJD, over in McLean, Virginia. He's listening in as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. Let me see, where are we at here? Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be of ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come with your call.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Well, Tony, you're the guy. Go ahead. NT5TM.
Well, thank you, Tom. You might have to help me with this one because I'm not sure I have the time right. I believe that we had to take a hiatus from the AMSAT East information net, the AMSAT net on this repeater, because of the club meeting and because of some scheduling conflicts Tom and 5H5P had. But I think we're going to start again on this Tuesday, May the 11th. And I want that net starts at 8 p.m. on this repeater this Tuesday. If I've got that right, please count that as my reminder for the evening. If not, please correct me. NT5TM back from the net.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I believe he's back for AMSAT East, and that is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. During the week start at 7. His is an hour later, so you should tune back in around 8 o'clock. And that's every Tuesday. And Tom is your net control. Central and 585 P. I guess he's been working or something. I don't know. He's very, very busy, so hopefully we'll get him back here in a little bit. Got some announcements. So there's Dallas and West, and also handled by Tom. That's on the Irving repeater Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on 147.140 megahertz with a PL 110 decimal niner with a positive offset. So I assume he'll be back for both. That's Skynet. If you're interested in getting involved in amateur satellite, Tom's the guy. He knows everything about satellites, what's out there, the different modes. He'll give you guidance on how to make those contacts, and of course he'll also give you the latest and greatest on whatever satellites are active, the modes that they're in, potential launches, problems, you name it. He's got it all figured out. So that is an excellent net. Now there is, and I mention this every week, but folks may be new listening in, there is also an AMSAT net that's out of Houston, Texas. That's their headquarters. This is available on Echolink, so if you're interested, you can go to that net. That's Tuesday evenings at 8 o'clock, so it competes with Tom's net, but that is the Houston net. You'll need Echolink installed, and you registered on Echolink. You can find it under groups, and the word AMSAT, A-M-S-A-T, in the group section. There's also a live audio link that's available at amsatnet.com. It's an interesting net. It has a lot of great information as well. But that one you don't get to ask questions. That's all announcements. So Tom's the one if you really want to know about amateur satellite contacts. We also have DARC has tons of nets going on all the time. In fact, and I'm going to transition here just to give you some of the nets that are available. Mondays, we have a rotating set of nets at 7 o'clock. The first week is Ham Fixin's net, where we talk about food and cooking. That's about an hour net, 45 minutes, something like that. Second week is MCOM 101. That one involves, and at 7 o'clock, involves anything having to do with emergency communications. Kevin, N5KRG, will keep you up to date on some of the different groups, what they're doing, as well as answer your questions. If you've never been into amateur communications, he'll help guide you to the appropriate served agency you might want to be a part of. Third week is the second helping of Ham Fixin's net. You know about that. Fourth week is GeekNet. GeekNet is anything. We expand beyond amateur radio, but you know what happens. That becomes the main topic. But there's always something interesting going on, and it's a lot of fun. If there's a fifth week, and we do have them every few months, a surprise net at 7 o'clock shows you what it is. It'd be a surprise. And on-air participation is encouraged. So show up to that one. Sometimes we announce a little early, but a lot of times we don't. We've done everything from Jeopardy to creating our own stories to truth or lie. You name it, we've done it. On Fridays, we have CERT City at 7:30. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. City. Melissa, KF5GRH, sets up those nets and is one of the net controls. It's really good, too, by the way. Saturdays, it's the night of nets. We have from 7 to 8, in case you missed it, is TechNet, where we talk about all things amateur radio. Which is at 9 o'clock, which is what you're on right now. And then we have on Sundays. Oh, that's interesting. They never fixed this. On the first and third Sunday, well, I guess they did. It's first and third Sundays, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, or MODA. That's from 7 until 8 o'clock. And then daily, we have the Lunch Bunch Monday through Friday at 12 noon. There's always a survey question. Eat lunch with us. It's become an extremely popular net. So if you want to get in on the latest gossip and what's going on and answer the always very revealing and very interesting questions of the day, do so. We also have the ARRL net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. I understand they're going to be making a change in starting a little earlier, but I haven't heard anything official yet, so we'll see. Now, what you've all been waiting for, tonight's Afterglow movie information. See if this reminds you of anything. The movie of the week. Presenting the world premiere of an original motion picture produced especially for ABC. Tonight, on the movie of the week, you can come along if you want. The year isn't even 2089, but it doesn't matter to this wacky group of post-apocalyptic survivors of nuclear war. In the ultimate stay-off-my-grass moment, they fight for the right to party. Starring people you've never heard before or hear from again. So we don't know who they are, I'll just give you names of people who don't appear in this movie. Brian Keaton, William Wyndham, Cher, Art Carney, and Cesar Romero don't appear in the movie. Nor does Chuck Napier, Margaret Hamilton, Lou Gossett Jr., Martin Landau, and Tony Curtis. Also, Burt Mustin, Charlie Lane, Jack Gordon, and Harry Gould do not guest star in tonight's movie of the week in the year 2889, which doesn't take place in the year 2889. In the year 1967, a made-for-TV movie, night at 10:30 p.m. Okay, we move on to the next section, which is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. Now, I have to say, a lot of these folks are at the star party I believe this week. We'll see what we can do, and maybe we can check on Kelly's signal. So, Kelly, you want to give us something on the Texas Astronomical Society, and we'll see how your signal is. K5KTX from KE5ICX.
Tom, this is K5KTX. I'm not sure that my signal is going to be any better than yours. It's very broken up on my end as well, but the Texas Astronomical Society, very quickly, if you go to texasastro.org, you will find all kinds of resources there. Of course, at the moment, due to COVID, we are not meeting in person, nor are we having our weekly star parties somewhere in Dallas. But if you'll go to texasastro.org, you can learn all kinds of information about buying your first telescope and different recommendations there, and find out about some of our events that are coming on. I think it won't be too long before we'll be starting those star parties back up, and as soon as we do, of course, we'll be announcing it right here. But we do have a monthly meeting via Zoom for members only on the fourth Friday of every month. But those are limited to members right now, and hopefully soon we'll be meeting back at the UTD campus. So I'm going to cut it short there because of the signal. So this is K5KTX. Back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kelly. And I do have to say, yeah, there's a little bit of noise, but it's actually originating from the repeater. You are holding the repeater now, and you're holding the signal through the internet connection that you're on. So we'll go ahead and let you try and do the presentation. If nothing changes, I think you'll be good to go later on. So thank you for the announcement. That was kind of a way of double-checking your signal, too. Thanks very much. Next up is National Space Society Events and Activities. Bill, in 5BB, what do you have for us tonight from KE5ICX?
Okay, Tom, this is in 5BB. This thing is deteriorating so much. How do I sound? Am I any worse than Kelly was on Echoing?
You're fine. So yeah, go right ahead. The signal's fine. We do have some noise because up at the repeater site, everybody's got that. It's not a lot, but you're clear. So please go right ahead.
Okay, Tom. Earlier in the net, your signal kind of dropped out several times because the noise was so bad. I thought you were going to disappear there, but you kept on coming back. That's why I was asking. This is N5BB. I am the membership director of the North Texas chapter for the National Space Society. We meet on the second Sunday afternoon of the month. So for May, our meeting is tomorrow. And our presentation starts at 4 p.m. We're normally at a barbecue restaurant in Irving, but because of COVID, we're doing this on WebEx. If you want to listen in, you can be a guest. And I can send you a link where you can register for free. If you'd like to get that link to listen in to the National Space Society meeting tomorrow, the local chapter, send me an email at space@byrom.net. That's space@byrom.net, or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. Either address works. The meeting tomorrow, the presentation is going to be on the future of NASA and commercial spaceflight. So, mainly talking about, missions that are going to be coming up here in the next couple of years, of which there is a lot going on. We got things going on toward Mars, things towards the moon, and lots of things going up and down to the ISS, as well as other things going up like the James Webb Telescope and other stuff. Anyway, lots of activity in space. The only other thing I might want to comment on is, as a National Space Society benefit here, I'll tell you the weather report for Mars. Right now at Jezero Crater near Wright Field, recently the maximum air temperature has been -8 Fahrenheit. The minimum air temperature has been -112 Fahrenheit. The air pressure, the pressure on the Mars has been about 135th of Earth's sea level air pressure. Sunsets at 5:48 a.m. local time, and sunrise, that is. Sunset is at 18:34 local time. The Perseverance rover is working fine. Ingenuity has finished its 5th flight, and on the 4th flight, they recorded noise from the helicopter. It's pretty interesting if you go listen to it. That's the end of my weather report from Mars. This is N5BB. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate the report that you brought. And I'll make just an interesting comment about this, and I remember this from previous JPL missions to Mars, is that their schedules, because Mars is, a 25-hour day, their schedules are based on Mars time. So folks may end up going on duty and on console in the morning, and then eventually this shifts into the evening and then late night, and because they're on a 25-hour time frame, which is quite interesting. I'm sure families are really excited about that too. But that's what happens when you're doing Mars, because you got to be working, certain teams have to be working during the day and doing things. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. You can't leave an expensive spacecraft sitting on Mars doing nothing because you're sleeping. It's daylight on Mars, darkness on Earth. Oh well. This is K5ICS, and that controls Skynet. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and ask if there's additional check-ins before we move on to the discussion topic of the evening. Anybody else who would like to join us, please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, there was a station. I actually heard some voice modulation, but it was extremely broken up and it was very light. You might want to check your mic input or something, and we'll let you try one more time. You have a reasonably good signal into the repeater, but your audio is very weird. If you want to try again, check your mic and then try again. I'll give you a little extra time. All right, well, we'll come back to you later. Let's see. So the topic this evening is actually down the middle of where this morning, which I thought was kind of interesting. So let's see here. What this is an article. It actually appeared in Nature magazine, the more technical version. This was from, I think, space.com. I think is where it originated from. So let me see if I can do this. The article is entitled Astronomers Chart Invisible Ocean of Dark Matter Swirling Outside the Milky Way. This is kind of interesting. A mysterious wake of stars stirred up by a small galaxy that is set to collide with the Milky Way could be about to unlock the mysteries of dark matter. The trail of stars located outside the star-flecked spiral arms of the Milky Way's central disk in a region like halo is being carried along in a cosmic slipstream of a dwarf galaxy in orbit around the Milky Way, according to a new sky map created by astronomers. The galaxy, called the Large Magellanic Cloud, or LMC, is orbiting some 130,000 light years away from Earth and stirring up in the wake of cosmic material behind it. At first glance, the LMC's trail appears to consist solely of stars, but the researchers know that the stars are just along for the ride. They are suspended inside a far larger, completely invisible presence. Astronomers are interested in this ripple in space because they think it could be made up of dark matter, the mysterious non-luminous substance making up the vast majority of matter in the universe. Predictions say that dark matter, invisible and interacting with matter we can see only through gravity, should be everywhere in the galactic halo. We think this wake is made up of dark matter and it drags stars along with it, which is how we can detect it. Study co-author Nikolai Gravinto-Camargo, a University of Arizona doctoral student, said in the statement, dark matter's gravitational influence can be observed throughout the universe. It is our galaxy's vital scaffolding, gluing stars and planets to it so they don't fly off as the galaxy spins. Yet what exactly dark matter is or how it behaves remains one of the astronomy's greatest mysteries. The researchers are hoping that by studying the wake, they'll be able to study dark matter they believe makes up the vast majority of it. If the wake's stars are like leaves floating on a dark matter pond, the way that the leaves are distributed by a boat, in this case the LMC, can tell us a lot about the pond itself. You can imagine that the wake behind the boat will be different if the boat is sailing through water or through honey, MSET lead author Charlie Conroy, professor of astronomy at Harvard University. In this case, the properties of the wake are determined by which dark matter theory we apply. The critics use their new math and the position of the wake to confirm a theoretical model created by another group of researchers. Just how dark matter should be distributed across the galactic halo. Now running to see which of the theories about dark matter best fits the wake's shape and location. Now, if you're looking for the super technical version of this article, which includes variations and chi-squared variations and all of that, if you're into all of that, that's at the nature site. Just type in, let's see, invisible astronomers chart, invisible dark matter, and large Magellanic cloud. I think you'll find that it is posted there and is available for everybody to read. It's about 6 pages long. I haven't read the whole article yet, but if you are looking for a very technical read about what this all means and what they're looking for, it's a much longer and very detailed article, and it looks very interesting, at least the parts that I understand. Okay, well, that was a short article. Tonight, Chaz is still east at Texas Star Party, and he says he'll return according to his voicemail. He should be back next week. We'll see. I don't know if he said 2 or 3 weeks, so it could be 3 weeks, but we'll see. If there, he'll be here next week. So what I have in place of it this evening is earthsky.org and one of the papers, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to do that now. If you're interested in the star charts and what you can, and what I'm talking about, you can go ahead and go to w5fc.org, look for the live link, and then you'll find the video playing merrily away with my voice droning on in the background. About a 20-second delay. So this is what we have from earthsky.org / for tonight, where this week actually. So the bright star Vega, is it Vega or Vega? Vega. I'll call it Vega because it's like the car on May evenings. Vega is a lovely star to come to know, and this is what the author says. When I first started learning the night sky 45 plus years ago, I spent hours, days, weeks, months poring over charts and books. So I sometimes came to know the names and the whereabouts of certain stars before seeing them in the night sky. One soft May evening, I happened to glance toward the northeast. I was thrilled at the sight of Vega, gleaming sapphire blue, and surprisingly bright for below in the sky. Look for the star tonight. It's the 5th brightest star in our sky, and if you're in the northern hemisphere, you'll find beautiful bluish Vega easily, simply by looking northeastward. It's mid-evening in May. Vega is so bright that you can see it on a moonlit night. I have another chart up. It says constellation Lyra with Epsilon Lyrae, and he talks about the double star. From far south in the southern hemisphere, you can't see Vega until late at night in May. That's because Vega is located so far north that the sky is domed. Vega will reach its high point for the night around 3 or 4 hours after midnight, at which time people in the southern hemisphere can see the star in their northern sky. As seen from mid-northern latitudes, the star shines high overhead at this early morning hour. Because it's the brightest star in the constellation Lyra the Harp, Vega is sometimes called the Harp Star. Like all stars, Vega rises some 4 minutes earlier each day as Earth moves around the sun, so Vega will ornament our evening sky throughout the summer and fall. Although Vega is considered a late spring or summer star, it's actually so far north on the sky's dome that from mid-latitudes in the northern hemisphere, you can find it at some time during the night, nearly every night of the year. All right, on that one, I'll ask if anybody has any comments there any questions? I know that's a short one to bring, but there you have it. Anybody have any questions or comments about Lyra or Vega, or even my pronunciation? Come with your call.
BB comment about the Long March rocket.
Go ahead, Bill. I've been kind of searching over on the internet during other portions. I haven't seen anything, but go ahead. What do you have for us?
Yes, 25 minutes ago, I just sent you an email, by the way, along with some of the other people here that are on this net. About 25 minutes ago, it was confirmed to be passing over Jordan. It's now probably over Perth, Australia. So there's been no reports of it deorbiting yet, but it's supposed to be coming down any moment now, actually. In fact, BB.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. And as we know, whenever you have any object that's in a low Earth orbit, and this one is extremely low, the variations on atmosphere and all that makes it very unpredictable and unknown as to when something like this would come down. And I think this is probably the largest object that has come down from space since the Mir space station when it came down. I think was the last, and before that was Skylab. So this is not a regular event. I believe the booster continued firing, went into orbit. It wasn't supposed to do that, and that's why we're having this problem. So we'll see what happens. It will go over inhabited areas. It also more likely, hopefully, break up in an uninhabited area, such as an ocean or uninhabited land mass somewhere. We'll see. We'll know soon, I guess. All right, this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. Kelly, K5KTX. Let's give your report a shot. I think you can make it. Your last signal and audio was fine, even though we've got high winds here. You're still strong enough into the repeater. We can go ahead with your section presented by you. So please go ahead from KE5I6.
Tom, this is K5KTX. Good evening to everybody that's on the net. And unfortunately, I won't be able to comment, so I'll try to check and make sure that I'm coming through okay. Well, 4 astronauts splashed down safely in the Gulf of Mexico last Sunday, completing NASA's first commercial crew long-duration mission aboard the International Space Station. The return comes nearly 6 months after the crew members arrived at the microgravity laboratory, and also marks the longest duration mission of a crewed American spacecraft to date. SpaceX's Crew Dragon, carrying NASA astronauts Michael Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi, returned to Earth in a parachute-assisted splashdown at 1:56 a.m. Central Time off the coast of Panama City, Florida. Crews aboard SpaceX recovery vessels successfully recovered the spacecraft and astronauts. After returning to shore, the astronauts flew back to Houston. SpaceX Crew 1 mission launched November 15, 2020 on a Falcon 9 rocket from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The astronauts named the spacecraft Resilience in honor of their families, colleagues, and fellow citizens, and highlighting the dedication displayed by the teams involved with the mission, and demonstrating that there is no limit to what humans can achieve when they work together. Crew Dragon Resilience docked to the Harmony module forward port of the space station November 16th, nearly 27 hours after liftoff. Glover, Walker, and the police traveled 71,242,199 statute miles during their 168 days in orbit, with 167 days aboard the space station, completing 2,688 orbits around Earth. With splashdown, the crew also broke the American crewed spacecraft mission duration record of 84 days, 1 hour, 15 minutes, set by the final Skylab crew in February of 1974. Crew 1 was also the first night splashdown of a U.S. crewed spacecraft since Apollo 8's pre-dawn return in the Pacific Ocean on December 27, 1968, with NASA astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders. The next NASA and SpaceX crewed mission is Crew 3, currently targeted to launch no earlier than October 23rd. Crew 2 astronauts are scheduled to return to Earth October 31st, about a week after welcoming their Crew 3 colleagues to the orbiting outpost. Space history this week. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of the launch of the first American in space. On May the 5th, in 1961, the United States and the Soviet Union found themselves in a race to put the first human being into space. The United States initiated Project Mercury in 1958 to put the first American into space and selected its first group of astronauts in 1959 to begin training for that mission. The Soviets kept their plans secret but began their own human spaceflight program and selected their own team of 20 cosmonauts in 1960. The Soviets won the race in April of 1961 when cosmonaut Yuri A. Gagarin completed a single orbit around the Earth aboard his Vostok capsule. On May 5th, 1961, Alan B. Shepard became the first American in space during a suborbital flight aboard his Mercury capsule named Freedom 7. 3 weeks later, based on the success of Shepard's brief flight, President John F. Kennedy committed the United States to achieving a lunar landing before the end of the decade. The Space Task Group, or STG, and NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, initiated Project Mercury in 1958 with 3 goals: orbiting a crewed spacecraft, investigating man's ability to function in space, and safely recovering both spacecraft and crew member. NASA contracted the McDonnell Aircraft Corporation of St. Louis to build the Mercury spacecraft. The initial plans called for up to 7 early suborbital flights launched on Redstone rockets to test the single-seat spacecraft, followed by Earth's orbital missions using the more powerful Atlas booster. After some early launch failures, the first successful test flight of the Mercury spacecraft without an astronaut on board took place in December 1960, launched on a suborbital flight atop a Redstone rocket. Parallel with Mercury spacecraft development, NASA selected its first group of astronauts on April 9, 1959. The group, consisting of M. Scott Carpenter, L. Gordon Cooper, John H. Glenn, Virgil I. Gus Grissom, Walter M. Schirra, Alan B. Shepard, and Donald K. Deke Slayton, called themselves the Mercury 7 astronauts. They began intensive training in the hope of becoming the first human in space. January 19, 1961, STG leader Robert Gilruth informed the group that Shepard would fly the first suborbital mission, Grissom the second, with Glenn serving as a backup to both of them. To the public, NASA revealed only that one of the 3 men would make the first flight, with the actual individual made known only close to the launch. Before the first astronaut flight, NASA tested the Redstone rocket and the Mercury capsule by flying Chimpanzee Ham on an identical suborbital mission on January 31st. Although the flight was mostly successful and the U.S. Navy recovered Ham in excellent shape, a problem with an electrical relay in the Redstone rocket caused NASA to schedule another uncrewed test flight on March 24th. That successful flight cleared the way for the flight of the first American astronaut. But on April 12th, the Soviets stole the prize by launching cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin aboard his Vostok capsule, in which he completed a single orbit around the Earth. After hundreds of hours of training in simulators and 3 simulations inside the capsule itself, Shepard and his backups, Grissom and Glenn, prepared for the actual flight. Inclement weather scrubbed the first launch attempt on May 2nd, 1961, and and NASA decided it was time to announce that Shepard would indeed be making the first flight. On May 5th, the weather proved more cooperative, and Shepard climbed aboard Freedom 7 atop the Redstone rocket poised on Launch Pad 5 at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, now the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. 500,000 people had gathered on nearby beaches to watch the launch in person. An estimated 45 million Americans anxiously watched the liftoff on live television, including President Kennedy at the White House. After more than 2 hours of delays due to technical issues, the rocket engine ignited at 9:34 a.m. Eastern Time, propelling Shepard skyward and into the history books. During the mission, Shepard communicated with the Mercury Control Center, MCC, at Cape Canaveral. Flight Director Christopher C. Kraft designed the control center to monitor every aspect of the mission. Fellow astronaut Slayton served as the capsule communicator, or CAPCOM, speaking directly with Shepard and Freedom 7. The Redstone rocket's engine shut off as planned 2 minutes, 22 seconds after liftoff, with the launch escape tower jettisoning immediately after. After another 10 seconds, the spacecraft separated from the booster, and Shepard began to experience weightlessness. At 3 minutes, 10 seconds into the flight, Shepard took over manual control of the spacecraft's attitude and found that he could control Freedom 7's orientation with remarkable ease and precision. He conducted visual observations of the Earth below and took some photographs of the cloud-covered Atlantic Ocean. At 5 minutes, 11 seconds, Freedom 7 reached the highest point of its ballistic flight at 116 miles and began descending toward the Earth. 15 seconds later, the retro fire maneuver took place. At an altitude of 230,000 feet, Freedom 7 encountered the top layers of the Earth's atmosphere, ending Shepard's time in weightlessness after 5 minutes. During the deceleration, he experienced G-loads of up to 11 times the force of Earth's gravity, but only for a few seconds. A drogue parachute deployed at 22,000 feet to slow and stabilize the spacecraft, followed by the main parachute at 10,000 feet. A landing bag deployed at the bottom of the spacecraft to further cushion the impact, and after a flight of 15 minutes, 22 seconds, Freedom 7 splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean north of the Bahama Islands, 300 miles southeast of Cape Canaveral, completing Shepard's flight as the first American in space. Freedom 7 splashed down just 4 miles from the prime recovery, an aircraft carrier called the USS Lake Champlain. Recovery forces deployed from the Lake Champlain and retrieved Shepard and his capsule within 20 minutes of splashdown and delivered them to the flight deck. Shepard went below deck for a brief medical exam and a congratulatory phone call from President Kennedy. At a press conference afterward, the president hinted that he would soon be seeking more funding for a greatly expanded space program. Less than 2.5 hours after arriving aboard the Lake Champlain, Shepard boarded a plane that took him to the Grand Bahama Island for more in-depth medical examinations. Meanwhile, a helicopter retrieved Freedom 7 from the Lake Champlain and delivered it to Cape Canaveral. After initial inspections, the capsule traveled to Paris to go on exhibit May 25th at the International Aeronautical Show. On May 8, 1961, Shepard arrived at the White House, where in a ceremony in the Rose Garden, President Kennedy presented him with NASA's highest award, the Distinguished Service Medal. From there, Shepard, with his wife Louise, riding in Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson's limousine, took part in a motorcade that took them to the Capitol for a reception with lawmakers. On May 25th, President Kennedy returned to the Capitol to address a joint session of Congress. During the speech, he stated that the United States should commit itself to achieve the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. That risky commitment, based on a single 15-minute suborbital spaceflight, culminated with the landing of the moon of Apollo 11 on July 20th, 1969. The Freedom 7 capsule is on display at Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Center in Chantilly, Virginia. A recreation of MCC is on display inside the Kurt Debus Center at NASA's Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. All right, now, I think a couple of weeks ago I said that in order to be an astronaut, you had to be born in April. Well, I think I was wrong. I think actually you have to be born in the first week of May. We have a lot of birthdays for this past week, so let me get to starting off with May 2nd, 1957, Dominic Pudwell-Gorey, who was on STS 91, 99, 108, and 123. Also on May 2nd, 1975, was Dorothy Metcalf Lindenberger, who was on the STS 131 mission. On May 3rd, 1949, Ibert Sacco was on the STS Space Shuttle 73 mission. May the 4th, 1956, Michael Gernhardt, who was on STS 69, 83, 94, and 104. And then we have May 1930 with Michael J. Adams, who unfortunately was killed on his only mission, which was the X-15 Flight 191. May the 5th, 1960 was one of my favorite astronauts, Douglas Wheelock, who was on STS 120 as well as Expedition 24 and 25. May the 6th, 1949, David Leetsma, STS 41G, 28, and 45. May the 6th, 1955 was Donald A. Thomas, who was on missions, Space Shuttle missions STS 65, 70, 83, and 94. Then May the 7th, 1959 was Tamara Jernigan, who was on, ready for this, Space Shuttle missions 40, 52, 67, 80, and 96. And finally today is May the 8th, 1952, Charles Camarda, who was on the Space Shuttle mission STS 114. And I hope y'all got any of that at all. So that's it for me. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Tom.
N5BB comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yes. There are indications, but it's not completely verified, that the Chinese Long March rocket came down between Oman and India and what may be called the Arabian Sea or whatever. So probably right off the west coast of India or the east coast of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula here within the last half hour or so. N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thanks for the update. I do appreciate that. Very good. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I met Doug Wheelock about 5 years ago. He's a great guy. He's a huge fan of amateur radio, and in fact, he would contact, I think it was somebody in Italy that he talked to from the International Space Station while he was in orbit. And he's a really interesting guy, and it's really kind of cool to have somebody who's that technical and that busy in orbit, really interested in amateur radio and using to effect one of the two that's up in the International Space Station. So pretty cool. Nice guy, too. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. We normally would have Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, but Chaz is, I believe, at the Texas Star Party. He's someplace not here. He, I believe, will be back next week. So we're just going to skip that for tonight, and we'll see if he shows. So I'll go ahead and pause for a moment and see if we have any additional check-ins. Anybody who would like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, Whiskey, Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India.
Kilo, Bravo, 9, Sierra, Oscar, Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
All right, we we picked up two more. I've got WB4MFI, that's Ted and Dallas Low Power, got you, and KB9SOK, that's Sean over in Fort Worth. Anyone else like to join us? Please come with your call tonight. Name and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David, St. Paul, Texas.
Okie dokie, we picked up one more. We've got David, KG5EI over in St. Paul. I have you checked in. All right, the next section is space launches. And this is one I present normally, and it is from the one that I use most often is Spaceflight Now. This is at spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. There are so many launches going on. I mean, it's almost daily in some cases, or at least one a week. So let's go with one a week. So we had on, or have, let's see, today is the 8th, so tomorrow we have yet another Starlink launch. This is the L27 group, or 27th group of Starlink communication satellites. This will launch from Cape Canaveral, SLC-40 in Florida. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 27th batch of 60 satellites through the SpaceX Starlink broadband network, a mission designated Starlink V1.0/L27. In May, we have a GSLV Mark II launch. This will be from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. India's geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle MK2, designated GSLV F10, will launch India's first geo-imaging satellite for GSAT-1. The spacecraft will provide continuous remote sensing observations over the Indian subcontinent from geostationary orbit more than 22,000 miles above the Earth. We also have a Chinese Long March 7 will launch the Tianqiao-2 resupply ship with the Chinese space station. The automated cargo will be the first resupply for the Chinese space station. No date set for that. It'll be a Long March 7 vehicle. May 17th, we have an Atlas V launch. This is from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch the U.S. Space Force's fifth space-based infrared system geosynchronous satellite known as SDIR-SGL-5 for missile early warning detection. The rocket will fly in the 421 vehicle configuration with a 2-meter fairing and 2 solid rocket boosters and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. So it's a heavy lift in essence. On May 27th, we have a Soyuz launch. A Russian Soyuz rocket will launch 36 satellites into orbit for OneWeb. This is from the Vostochny Cosmodrome in Russia, which is developing a constellation of hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low-latency broadband communications. They'll use the, everybody say it together, Soyuz 2.1B rocket, which will use the Fregat upper stage. That's almost exclusively what they use. Another mission to be determined, I don't know if it'll be in May or not, it's in the May listings, STP-27RM. This is from Launch Complex 2 in the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport in Wallops Island, Virginia. A Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch on its first mission from a new launch pad at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport of Wallops Island, Virginia. The launch customer is the U.S. Air Force, and the mission will launch an experimental mission for the space test program called Monolith with a space weather instrument. The Monolith mission will demonstrate the ability of a small satellite to support large aperture payloads. And that's it on launches. If you want to keep up with all of that, as I mentioned, go to spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule, and they have missions, most of them to be determined, several weeks, so it's well worth it. And by the way, most of these launches are now covered on streaming services on the internet. So if you're interested, go for it. I would highly recommend that if you're interested in this sort of thing, sign up over at space.com to get the latest and greatest on that. Another one, of course, is spacex.com, but space.com will alert you 10 minutes. And, well, it'll alert you through the day, but it will alert you 10 minutes before launch and give you the link location so that you can watch it, whether you're working or not. Well, you won't be working because you'll be watching the launch on your computer. That's it from me on that one. And this is KE5ICX and Net Control for tonight's Skynet. Let us move on to the next section, which is Brenda, who will bring us recent astronomical discoveries. So, Brenda, WB5OZL, the net's yours.
Thank you, Tom. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm not good at best, but we will try. The title of this article is Physicists Describe New Type of Aurora. For millennia, humans in the high latitudes have been enthralled by auroras, the northern and southern lights. Yet even after all that time, it appears the ethereal dancing ribbons of light above Earth still hold some secrets. In a new study, physicists led by the University of Iowa report a new feature to Earth's atmospheric light show. Examining video taken nearly 2 decades ago, the researchers described multiple instances where a section of the diffuse aurora, the faint background light glow accompanying the more vivid light commonly associated with auroras, dark as if screened by a giant blotter. Then, after a short period of time, the blacked out section suddenly reappears. The researchers say the behavior, which they call diffuse auroral erasers, has never been mentioned in the scientific literature. The findings appear in the Journal of Geophysical Research. Auroras blowing from the sun, solar wind, with Earth's protective magnetic bubble. Some of those particles may fall toward our planet, and the energy released during the collisions with gases in Earth's atmosphere generates a light associated with auroras. The biggest thing about the erasers that we don't know before, but know now, is that they, says Wilson James, professor in the Department of Physics at Astronomy in Iowa, are a common phenomenon that has been overlooked, or are they rare? Knowing they exist means there is a process that is creating them, James continues, and it may be a process that we haven't started to look at because we never knew they were happening until now. It was on March 15, 2002, that David Knudsen, a physicist at the University of Calgary, set up a video camera in Churchill along Hudson Bay in Canada to film auroras. Knudsen's group was a little disheartened. The forecast called for clear, dark skies, normally perfect conditions for viewing auroras. So, illumination was happening. The team was using a camera specifically designed to capture low-level light, much like night vision goggles. Though the scientists saw only mostly darkness, they gazed upward with their own eyes. The camera was picking up all sorts of auroral activity, including an unusual sequence where areas of the diffuse aurora disappeared and came back. Knudsen, looking at the video as it was being recorded, scribbled in his notebook, pulsating blackout diffuse glow, which then fills in over several seconds. What surprised me, and what made me write it in the notebook, when a patch brightened and turned off, the background diffuse aurora was erased. It went away, says Knudsen, a Fort Dodge, Iowa native who studied aurora for more than 35 years and is the co-author on the study. There was a hole in the diffuse aurora, and then the hole would fill back in after half a minute or so. I had never seen something like that before. The note lay dormant, and the video unstudied until Iowa's James handed it to graduate student Riley Troyer to investigate. Learned about his reporting at a science referenced the note in her doctoral thesis on diffuse aurora a few years later. Now on the faculty in Iowa, she wanted to learn more about the phenomenon. I knew there was something there. I knew it was different and unique, says James, assistant professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy. I had some ideas how it could be analyzed, but I hadn't done that yet. I handed it to Riley, and he went much further with it by figuring out his own way to analyze the data and produce some significant conclusions. Troyer from Fairbanks, Alaska, took up the assignment with gusto. I've seen hundreds of auroras growing up, says Troyer, who is in his third year of doctoral studies at Iowa. They're part of my heritage, something I can study while keeping ties to where I'm from. Troyer created a software program to key in on frames in the video where the faint erasers were visible, and he cataloged 22 eraser events in the 2-hour recording. The found showing the time that it takes for the aurora to go from an erased event when the diffuse aurora is blotted out to be filled or colored again, says Troyer, who is the paper's corresponding author, and how long it takes to go from that erased state back to being diffuse aurora. Having a value on that will help keep the future modeling of magnetic fields. James says learning about diffuse erasers is akin to studying DNA to understand the entire human body. Particles that fall into our atmosphere from space can affect our atmospheric layers and our climate, James says. While particles with diffuse aurora may not be the main cause, they are smaller building blocks that can help us understand the aurora system as a whole and may broaden our understanding how auroras happen on other planets in our solar system. All right, that's the end. This is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to that, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. And this is KE5ICX on net control for tonight's Skynet. All right, let's move on to the next section here, which is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. I got a few. Let's see. The first one is the ISS, International Space Station. Bring up some of that information here for us. May 14th has good window that will be, and this is all for the Dallas area, minus 0.1 magnitude at 2157. That would be 9:57 local time. Out of the west-southwest, it reaches its highest point at 2201 at 56 degrees, then falls at 2204 at around 10 degrees. So it's a nice pass. May 15th, we've got another good pass. Actually, there's two. One at 23 degrees at 4:30, and then in the morning, and then the second one is the really good one with a minus 3.9 magnitude at 2110. Out of the southwest, reaches the highest point at 74 degrees at 2113, falls at 2117. Now, the Tianhe-1, that's new. That's the space station that was launched earlier this week. It now has telemetry and couplers that you can follow. This information is available on heavensabove.com. So they showed two, well, there's several actually because I don't have any others to give you. May 9th, 1.0 magnitude, 5:58 a.m. It will reach its highest point at 72 degrees at 6:01 a.m. and then it will fall at 6:05 to around 10 degrees. So it's a full pass. On May 10th, another pass. This one's 1.7 magnitude, 4:55 a.m. Reaches its highest point at 53 degrees at 4:57 and falls at 5 o'clock at 10 degrees. Another full pass. Then we've got, let's see, I did the May 10th, May 14th. There's a May 14th pass, 0.8 magnitude, 21:51 in the evening. Reaches its highest point at 2154.52 degrees and falls to the north-northwest at 2156 at 21 degrees. So it goes into shadow towards the horizon. Then we've got May 15th. This is the last one I'm going to give you, which is 0.9 magnitude at 2046 on 24-hour time. It reaches this point at 2049 at 74 degrees, and it will fall to the south-southeast at 2052 at 10 degrees. Okay, that's what I got for you this evening. Let's see here. We do have astronomical Q&A, which is next. Let me go ahead. I'm going to take a brief break here and let the doggies out. I'll be right back. All right, they are outside. They don't seem to understand that I have a net, but they do know that I'm on the radio, and that's usually when they want out. So there's something said for that. I'll take additional check-ins. This may be our final round, unless there's questions. Let me go ahead and see if there's any additional check-ins, and then I'll go ahead and do a Q&A. Anyone like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
Update, this is N5BB.
All right, I got a recheck. I got N5B, and then I got Chris. I found GVD, Golf Bravo Tango. He's got grid square on there, Echo Mike 12 Foxtrot Kilo. So I think he's local. I got you checked in. Bill, go ahead. I bet you got an update for us. Please go ahead.
Yes, this is N5BB. This is very recent, within the last few minutes. China is now reporting, Chinese Space Group, that the Long March rocket re-entered at 0224 UTC. So that's a little less than an hour ago, right over the Maldives. So this is right to the west of Sri Lanka. So it's off the southern tip of India, slightly southwest of there. So the earlier report that I had that it looked like it was starting to come down over Omar seems to be correct. Anyway, U.S. Space Command will, and others will tell us later if that's correct, because it won't be coming back over the U.S. again inside BB.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. I'm looking at the map here and seeing Mediterranean. Okay, well, it kind of flew the needle, didn't it? I'm sure there'll be additional information later on. Okay, does anybody have any questions or any comments they want to bring to the net? We have time this evening. If you got something you want to ask, we'll see if we can give you an answer. Any final check-ins? Please come in. Okie doke, we're going to shut it down early. It's rare, but we do every once in a while, usually during the Texas Star Party, because everybody's out at the Texas Star Party. So it looks like they've got something going on out there that is successful. I think, I may be wrong, that's what Chaz says, what Chaz said he was doing. That's where he says he is. So tonight we had 22 check-ins, including myself, and thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls for all of our nets by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. We'll make sure that it gets to the appropriate person in charge of whatever net you're listening to, including this one. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to whiskey5friedchicken.org, w5fc.org, at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:20 local time, returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We'll be back in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and we will be back to talk about in the year 2889, the 1967 made-for-TV movie. I'm sure we have lots of good things to say. Even if you didn't see it, that's okay. We can talk about post-apocalyptic deaths and how you're supposed to properly handle, post-massive end of populations and how to properly visit with people and FT. Actually, there's a lot of that in this movie. Okay, we'll be back in 10 minutes. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear for now.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the Afterglow Movie Net? This is WB50ZL. Alright, the Afterglow Movie Net is done every Saturday night at about 10:30 after the Skynet net. And every week we watch a movie in between the two Saturdays. And then we discuss it. It's generally a science fiction movie, always. So, the movie tonight is called In the Year 2889. And, boy, it's a keeper, I'll tell you that. KYCX, do you have one of your synopses with this movie?
Yeah, I can pull it up here. I'll find it. Here it is. I mentioned earlier, if you were listening to the earlier nets, the movie of the week, presenting the world premiere of an original motion picture produced especially ABC. Might on the movie of the week. The year isn't even 2889, but it doesn't matter. This wacky group of post-apocalyptic survivors of nuclear war, in the ultimate stay-off-my-grass moment, they fight for the right to party. Starring people you've never heard of before or ever hear from again. Since we don't know who they are, I'll just give you the names of people who don't even appear in the movie. Brian Keith, William Wyndham, Ger, Arnie, and Cesar Romero appear in this movie. Nor does Chuck Napier, Margaret Wilson, Lou Gossett Jr., or Tony Curtis. Also, Burt Mustin, Charlie Lane, Jack Warden, and Harold Gould do not guest star in tonight's movie of the week in the year 2889, which doesn't even take place in the year 2889. In the year 2889 from 1967, tonight at 10:30 p.m. That's where you are right now, and that was it. So if you can remember the hum, the tune, and the little 2001 A Space Odyssey, I don't know if it was on that or not, probably not, but it was pretty close to that time when they did Movie of the Week, which was pretty cool sometimes. This is not one of those times. Back to Net Control, this is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. You are wrong about us not ever hearing about the actors. This movie had Sarah Doherty, and she played Robbie's girlfriend Ellen in a December 3rd, 1964 episode of My Three Sons. Okay, even Wikipedia didn't have a whole lot to say about this. It's like in the year 2889 is a 1969 made-for-TV horror science fiction film about the aftermath of a future nuclear war. I'm not going to name the stars. You never heard of them. Although not set in the year 2889. Duh. The title is borrowed from a short story by the same title by Jules Verne and his son, Michael Verne. There is absolutely nothing in this movie that would make you think of the future. Absolutely nothing. Wouldn't even think of it being a year later. It's all late 60s and no future whatsoever. They could have had the bomb, and they could have had it set in the current day. I have no idea why they didn't. I think it was because it's just incoherent. Okay, we're going to take check-ins. I hope somebody comes. We're going to have pie at the end if you stick around. We normally go through three phases. The first is the plot, and the next rotation we'll do characterization, and then lastly we'll do special effects. So we'll take regular repeater check-ins first. Please come now.
This is N5BB, Bill and Irving. I did see this movie.
Yes.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas, and what do you know? I actually watched this thing.
To check in, you can check in and give your opinions about really cool movies. All right, N5BB Bill, got you checked in. Next.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Yes, I saw this so-called movie.
Kilo India 5 Papa Hotel Charlie, Neil and Lake Highlands, and I watched this beautiful masterpiece.
WT90, Michael, Plano. I watched part of it, and then I couldn't watch it anymore.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom and Louis. I did see it, though, about the second half of the movie, I had the sound turned down because I was talking to my mother. So maybe I'll just tell you about a conversation with my mom. It's probably more interesting than the movie. KE5ICX.
Okay, NT5TM Tony, who did see the movie. KI5PHC. I can't read my writing. Tell me your name again, please.
Name is November Echo India Lima. Neil in Lake Highlands or Dallas.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I just couldn't read it. Thank you, Neil, for checking in. WT9V, Michael, saw it. K5ICX, Tom, who did see it. All right. Any Echo Link check-in?
Kilo
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Oklahoma. I saw the movie.
James, would you come back with your call sign, please?
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Oklahoma.
Thank you. I copy KG5PMN. Thank you, James. Do we have anybody else?
This is N5HYP Tom and Irving. We did see the movie. Did you catch me earlier? I missed it.
Okay, we got N5HYP Tom. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First, tell us what you thought about the plot. We'll go down the list. N5BB Bill. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Brendan. This is N5BB. Well, the plot was not based on the name. So the name, you wonder, where in the world did they get that number, that date? Well, Jules Verne's son published a story with that title in the year 2889. He published it in 1889. Okay, so this is supposed to be 1,000 years in the future. A year later, Jules Verne, his father, Jules Verne, published a modified version of that story, but it was really written by his son. And you can read it. It's in the public domain on the internet, and it's not very long. It's kind of like it's not really a story. It's a little, it's a short story. It's a little fragment of dialogue. And it talks about the wondrous things that are going to be occurring 1,000 years in the future from then. Of course, this is before they had discovered radioactivity. They had no idea about radioactivity or atomic power or anything like that. They hadn't discovered radio or most of medicine, really. So they talk about communicating via a photophone, a telephone which communications via light at big distances, beams of light, which is being investigated at the time. And there's a few other things they talk about pneumatic tubes for moving people around and other things like that. Has nothing to do with anything in the movie we saw. I don't have a clue why they decided to pick that name up from somewhere. All I can imagine is that somebody would think it had something to do with Jules Verne and think their story had something to do with the Jules Verne plot. No. Zero relationship. Absolutely zero. It's like they took the list of the different stories that have been published in the last couple of 100 years, they flipped through it, stuck their finger in, and there it was. Anyway, now that I get that off my chest, the actual plot of what we saw was minimal. And they did everything they could to not show you anything that would require significant production values. Did we see anything related to radioactivity? No. Did we even hear a Geiger counter going off? No. Did we see a bomb? Right before the movie started, they had some images of atomic things going off, which were unrelated to anything going on in the story, really. So the plot was very thin. And at the end of it, and the copy I saw, it just stopped. It looked like the old guy was shooting the bad guy, and it just stopped. And it said, a new beginning? They didn't even tell us what happened after he shot him. They didn't tell us, who else was out there. Anyway, this was bad. I slogged through it, though. At least it wasn't 3 hours long. So I guess all I want to say is bad, bad, bad. Inside BB.
We're going to have somebody in this group that likes this movie. I just know it. NT5 and Tony, what did you think?
Well, Bill was right, and I'd like to say the science was quirky, too. He kept, the old male protagonist kept quoting the dose of radiation in Roentgen, which is kind of a meaningless number if you don't know what kind of radiation it is. That's just how many counts per second you're getting, really. Well, what is it? Without a duration, it means nothing. For example, I could go here, and because a sievert is a lot of radiation. It's enough to cause radiation sickness right away. I could go and say something like, hey, the radiation dose in my house is 30 sieverts. Of course, what I'm not telling you is per million years, right? It was just a word that was meant to sound science-y. The movie did have one kind of thing going for it. Its low production values meant that it was filmed in what just looked like a nice suburban house with big elephant ears and a pretty garden and a swimming pool and lots of that horribly tacky gold leaf paint people loved in the 60s because they thought gold somehow made things look luxurious instead of ugly, which they were wrong about. And that can really contribute to a sense of dread. You don't want everything to be gritty and muddy and dirty all the time because then the characters would know what kind of movie they're in. It's always creepier if they don't. But it was all downhill from there with the endless use of day for night and the cheaply rubber-masked mutants and the chaste woman who all the men were competing for because she's the real prize. She's a good screamer, though. So bad science, boring plot, yeah, I gotta go with it was short. I was able to kind of just watch this movie while I was doing other projects today in little bits, and that was its biggest redeeming feature was it was short. November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Thank you, Tony. Next, KI5THC. Neil, go ahead.
Well, I had about an hour of extra spare time last night and couldn't sleep until I put this movie on. It kind of reminded me of a very abridged mashup between Gilligan's Island and Shakespeare's Tempest, but only requires a couple of brain cells to make a connection just to follow along. It was cute. It was so bad it was good. You kind of felt sorry for it at the end. I'm going to reset real quick. My audio on YouTube went out during the burlesque dance, which I'm very disappointed because I felt like that was just the meat and potatoes of this film. And having missed the audio there, I've felt like, so much more. I'm going to have to go back and look for another version of it and just catch that because I feel like I missed 80% of the movie. Anyway, KI5PHC back to net.
Oh, you did. That was the best part. WT, Michael, go ahead.
Plot? What plot? I did. My evaluation of this movie, my synopsis is, it started off with a bang and then it went right down the tubes. when they didn't look out the glass windows and the doors. Move the curtain and look. No, don't open the door. But it might be my boyfriend. Peek out the window. Did they not set? Somebody must have written the terrible dialogue before they had the set, and then they just ignored the fact that he could have gone, oh, it's George. Oh, it's somebody I don't know. Anyway. So, yes, I agree with the previous, I think maybe it was Tony. No, it was somebody else. The best part of the movie was the fact that it was short, and the fact that I was able to watch 3/4 of it and then get bored and go do something else and still get to sleep on time last night was a big plus. I'm all for that. The next movie that you pick, Brenda, that's absolutely terrible like this, try and make it a short one. I appreciate it. And someone asked me when I told them, what's the movie? And I told them, and they said, is this one of those tax write-off movies? Probably that's probably what it was. Anyway, that's all I got for the non-plot. WT9Z, back to Ned.
Okay. Okay, I've unfixed.
Brenda, you had some dropouts there. You might have to call your station again, NT5TM.
I'm sorry. K5ICX, it's your turn, Tom.
Well, thank you, Brenda. And what do I remember of this film? Well, at least I'm not falling asleep tonight. I did fall asleep last week during the Andromeda strain. Even though I wanted to talk about the film, I did not get my nap, so it was pretty much, I fell asleep through most of the net. Now, this one, I should have fallen asleep during the movie. However, my mother called and thanked me for the flowers that I gave her and the cheese and sausage stuff and the card and everything. She was very happy, so I talked to her instead. So with the sound turned down, I saw the mutant. Okay, I don't know what that was all about. I watched at the beginning, before I got the phone call, that they had the old man and the perfectly set up table and all that, and that they don't have enough supplies. But people keep wandering in. Well, he's a constant guest. I don't know. What would Emily Post do in a situation like this? Exactly what happened. He took care of them. He made sure that they had everything that they needed. But he said that they will all die at some point and bad things will happen. But he was the consummate host. He was very nice. A little rude, but not enough to really make that a deal buster for everybody around. It reminded me of an episode of Twilight Zone, where they go down into the bunker during the fallout and all that, and everybody ends up banging on the door, let us in. Finally, they open it up, and you find out it was a misfire. That wasn't a nuclear weapon, which you know, coming to destroy them, and the neighbors were there, is guess who's coming to dinner, I suppose, and as was mentioned earlier, Gilligan's Island. So I don't know. Did it matter? I'm not sure. The character is quite forgettable, I guess. I think, what was it, Jack? Who was it their boyfriend she kept looking for? He never show up. They talked about it 12 seconds. You know what? Maybe it is a blessing. I'm glad Mom called me last night, because we talked about other things. She loved the flowers. Back to net control, KE5I6.
Oh, flowers to Mom. That's so sweet. Okay, KG5PMN. James, go ahead.
Kilo Go 5, Papa Mike November, checked up here in Oklahoma. I'm surprised nobody has actually said where this thing actually came from yet. According to Wikipedia, AIP gave Buchanan the script of the 1955 Corman film The Day the World Ended for use for this film, resulting in an almost line-for-line, scene-for-scene remake. And Burt Mustin, I believe, was the fireman in Leave It to Beaver in the earlier years. Yeah, I didn't think that much of the plot. I mean, it was all dark, and the big issue I had with the movie was the lighting. I would think in a post-nuclear war, age of a post-nuclear of the world, all the power grid would be down, especially toward the end of the movie. The guy sitting there, the older man sitting there on the couch, looks like he had a spotlight on him instead of, would think, having oil lamps all over the place. And then the night scenes. The night scenes are for being up in somewhere, evidently in a mountain valley or something like that, where he was supposed to have taken refuge. I would think that everything would be stark. You couldn't even film anything out there instead of having the leaves shining like they were and so much brighter light around the film was. It almost looks like sometimes they had it bright enough to even get some color back into it. And being up here, if it's nighttime, it's dark. Back to the net, KG5PM in.
Okay, N5HYP Tom, what say you?
Hey there, this is N5HYP. How copy right now? I'm assuming I'm making it in okay. Well, it had promise, was just what fusion of a plot with a lot of holes, a lot of questions, a lot of, why in the world is this happening? A lot of telegraphing of what's probably going to happen. And at the end, a lot of questions about why it actually happened and how it happened and where we go from here. So, it just was okay, but very unsatisfying. And as the comment about the light versus the dark, back in the 60s, if you shot night, because films weren't very fast, and because you had a head of a lot of lighting, all they did to make night look like night was shot stuff in the daytime with blue filters on it. And that's how you got night shots, because you didn't really shoot night shots, because the only way to do that was to shoot them, like on a sound stage. So if it was night, you just stuck a blue filter on it and shot in the daytime. So that's the technical side. Back to Natch. It was a great movie from N5HYP.
Alrighty, this is WB5OZL. By the way, this movie was shot in 16 millimeter. I think that explains a lot. But, this kind of gives me hope. I could be a movie maker. I could do this well. I don't know why these people put their faces in the movie. It's like, I don't want anybody to know I'm in this. They must have known how bad it was. My guess is they spent about 2 days filming, and, a lot of compromises. Let's shoot it at night, supposedly, so we don't have to use makeup or hair or clothes or sets or anything. so many movies on low budgets use that as a way to cheat, and we're not fools. I never did understand the basic idea that we're a low-lying area and none of the radioactive air is going to come, it's going to stop at the hill. It just kind of doesn't work that way. And you have all these creatures who are on your property that have radiation poisoning, but you don't. And they never did explain why they sort of turned them into zombies instead of just killing them. Didn't understand that part. Too much soap opera. Way too much soap opera. I've never watched soap operas in my life, and I'm never going to. I just don't. That kind of thing just does not appeal to me whatsoever. And don't much like bickering either. And infighting. To me, that's just not what makes a story. So, let's see, is there something we like about this movie? The pool was nice. It was kind of nice. They're swimming in the dark at night. Nope, that's it. I don't think I like anything else about this movie. It is just a complete and total loser. And I did not pick it. All right. Does anybody else want to check in?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth, and yes, I've seen the movie.
Hang on, I missed the first part of your call. Would you repeat it, please?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, KB9SOK.
Okay, I should know that by now. I'm really not good at this. KB9SOK, Sean, you did see the movie, so what did you think of the plot?
Well, we'll start with the good. Okay, now we'll move on to what was wrong. Well, as everybody said, there's obviously this plot was crazy. I actually do believe that the reason they picked this title, and I'm just guessing, is that they really did intend on saying this was the future, but they just made no effort to make it look like the future, which shouldn't be surprising knowing how bad the rest of the movie was, that they wouldn't have made anything look like it was from the future. So yeah, the whole plot was just full of crazy holes. Like was mentioned earlier, the absolutely horrible science. The fact that they're saying these mutants were because the radiation altered them and altered their DNA and turned them into these future creatures that had skin like steel and what have you. I mean, it was just kind of ridiculous. With the Geiger counter that hissed instead of the typical Geiger counter kind of thing. And the whole ending was just even crazier than the rest of the movie. With the abrupt ending, but then them saying that basically that the water is what's going to kill all the creatures off from the rain, but the creatures were going to breathe bad air. So that makes even less sense. I don't know why in the world they would think that would be a great plot to say that water would kill them. To me, that was the most ridiculous part of the whole plot. So yeah, just really, really bad. And maybe this is veering off of the characterization, but the fact that this girl's boyfriend, of course, was the monster in the end, as we found out, but that the fact after just 2 weeks she was ready to move on and this was the love of her life, I don't know. There wasn't nothing really good about this plot. It was just really bad in every way you would look at it. So as everybody said, it was short, so that was good. That's all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Alrighty. Well, let's go back up to the top then and talk about characterization. N5BB Bill, go ahead.
Oh, do I have to, Brenda? This is N5BB. I didn't like the characters. The old man. Well, I think there are two old men. The man that was the owner of the house. He was Mr. Stick in the Mud. Got my ideas about how me and my daughter will survive and we'll just kill everybody else. So he acts like he's adamant about that. And then by the end of the movie, he's got all these other people in the house. And he's trying to help the drunk or something. I did not understand that. I did not understand him going out to look for the drunk that was going to the still. And for some reason, there was, I guess, more radiation there or something else which I didn't understand. There were so many parts of the plot that were so poorly written, and they were bad plot points. Let's just put it that way. So here we go. Here's the description of the movie. A handful of bad plot points, poorly written, with poor acting and mediocre directing and minimal cinematography. I don't think there was any music I recognized either. N5BB.
All right. T5TM Tony.
Yeah, I kind of wondered at first if that old guy knew any other lines besides he can't come in and they can't come in, because he sure said that a lot, but he didn't stick to it very well. And of course, it's kind of pointless anyway. Once you've let people in, you have to sleep sometimes. If you're too determined to get rid of them, they'll get rid of you. The characters were really boring and not interesting. We had a loose woman who was there just so she could die inexplicably in a 3-second swimming pool drowning accident, just to show the virtues, I guess, of being virtuous. And then we had a traditional American plot device of we have to winnow the characters down to the proper romantic couple we've all agreed will be the survivors, which is very tedious, and it's been going on for a long time, and it makes the characters boring. And yes, I guess we'll just leap ahead to say, I hate day for night. I hate day for night. It makes everything just look underexposed and hard to see. It doesn't really make it look like night. It makes it look like you've underlit everything. I hate it. Anyway, yeah, what characters? NT5TM.
Okay, KR5PHC, Neil.
Characterization. I don't know where to go on this. There wasn't a whole lot. I wish the redhead was a better dancer, but when I, without audio, saw her dance, I was kind of like, wow, she's not a very good dancer. I kind of, going... One thing I didn't understand was they lived in an area with lead in the mountains, yet the water's just wonderful there. I thought that was interesting. Maybe they all had lead poisoning, and that was part of the problem with the character development and the short plot lines. Back to net, KF5PHC.
Why did all the animals get radiation poisoning? Why weren't they protected like the humans or so many holes? WT9V, Michael, go ahead.
I only have one thing to say, and that you people get out of my net because I've only got enough to read.
Next, K5ICX. Tom, go ahead.
characters are really terrible people, and whatever happened to Larry? Did Larry ever show up in this movie? I don't know. That was the boyfriend of the girlfriend and dad and all that. He was supposed to show up, and then non-Larry showed up. I remember that. And then he had that. Oh, he died? Oh, okay. Thanks. Well, yeah. Wouldn't anybody, especially if they acted in this movie, they would have died anyway. Let's see. One thing that I thought was interesting and somewhat kind of perplexing is that since the characters were disinterested, I'm just looking at what they're wearing, and the non-Larry was there, and he wore these white pants. All right. And they were there for 3 weeks. How the hell do everybody look perfectly coiffed? The white pants, nobody has white pants, and you buy white pants, and they don't end up with dirt on them or anything. They're doing stuff with alien, whatever the hell that thing was. I don't know what it was. But I had the sound down. I was talking to my mother. So, what 3 weeks, everybody looks perfect, nothing's wrong? Oh, and by the way, there are a bunch of smokers. Everybody's smoking in that thing. They should have at least had tar on their clothes or something. But no, everybody looks perfectly coiffed. So apparently they got good dry cleaning service in 2889, even though nothing else seems to work. The house was perfectly done, everything had been Windexed and waxed and perfectly put down and all that. The only thing that I did notice is the lights didn't come on, but that's to be said as to be expected, of course, because it's got power outages and all that. Similar to Texas. So, was there anybody interesting in that? Probably not. Oh, the guy drinking the maple syrup. The XXX was like something out of a cartoon. It was interesting. He, too, hopefully did. He wasn't really interesting, but probably formed because he was drinking on set, which needed to happen. He was maple. I don't know what actually happened, and they all lived happily ever after. What can you do with something like this? I don't know. Not much. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, KG5DMN.
KG5DMN. I didn't see any memorable characters in the movie. Everybody just kind of, I don't know, went around almost like a soap opera type thing, and nobody seemed to have any real emotion in it, no urgency for anything. The guy, I guess the neighbor farmer or something like that, I took it as a neighbor farmer. When he was watching the girl up there, and the girl screams, and the other guy runs and jumps on him, and then pops up off of him like, oh, I'm sorry I did that to you. So let's go walk up to the house. And sitting around the script, it really sounded to me like they were sitting around on a couch, actually just sitting there reading a paper script off the couch. There was actually no emotion in the script at all that I could really pick out. And everything was just kind of ended as far as characters went. Back to the next KG5PMN.
Okay, N5HYP, Tom.
Here I am, this is N5HYP. Characterization is where we're at right now, and yeah, they were pretty marginal. We have seen the actor that played the older guy, the father in the movie before. He always seems to show up in these science fiction movies, as a general or something like that. And in this case, he was the wannabe in control father. The only people that really had any really heavy emotion in there were the two women. The stripper gets drunk, and the empathetic daughter who screamed a lot. So that was about as far as you can get with characterizations here. I agree it was probably shot in only a few days, and it felt like all the dialogue was really badly overdubbed as far as that goes. So that's all I got, and I'm gone for the night, Brenda. 73, and take care to all from N5H5P.
All right, and KB9 SLK, Sean.
Yeah, characterization. Yeah, I think everybody's pretty well covered it. It's, there really wasn't really interesting any characters at all. Maybe the bunny, that was, in the cage might have been the most interesting one. I agree. Probably the two girls showed the most emotion. But once again, it was over the top. Obviously the father was just, like everybody said, overacted. Like he was reading off of the script. Particularly good. Pretty much that way across the board. I will say that, the quote-unquote bad guy that kept wanting to steal the gun, he was creepy. He did look creepy. He felt creepy. So maybe he did sort of a good job. Anyway, that's all. Back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Okay, my turn. I did make a comment along the way, and I'm not sure I really meant this. I just said I hope they all died, but I shouldn't probably say things like that. There wasn't anybody interesting at all, and the motivations were just weird. Here's this old guy. He's got plans for 3 people and just a few weeks worth of food. And he's planning on rebuilding society with this. If he were really prepared, he would have taken instruction books and tools and medicines and things to really survive with. And the idea that a breeding pair of 2 is going to rebuild the population is ludicrous. There are people who put their minds to this and figure out how many it would take to rebuild population, and it's not 2. It's at least dozens in terms of genetic diversity. And it's like he just suddenly decided they were going to do this, and I would have been a little bit more prepared than he was. And he was just a bully anyway, and an authoritarian bully. And there wasn't, to me, really very many sympathetic people in this, and you end up not really rooting for anybody. So that's what I think of the characters. Okay, do we have any more check-ins? Okay, well, let's go around again. We'll talk about special effects, whatever that means in this movie. Maybe talk about something else that you want to talk about besides special effects, but whatever. First up, N5BB, Bill.
N5BB. My description of special effects is minimal. So the one guy, the brother of the other one, he had some kind of growth on one side of his face, which, to tell you the truth, is not what I would expect. Not the way they just showed it wouldn't be what I would expect from radiation poisoning. Maybe the skin falling off and it being all red, but I don't know. That didn't look very realistic to me. And then the only other really special effect I can think of was Larry. Now, Tom, listen up here. Tom General. Larry was lurking out in the woods, and he had weird features, but they were so hesitant to show you up close their special effects that he was always in the dark, in the distance. All you saw was somebody with long, kind of white hair and some kind of crude-looking face. You really didn't get much. I don't know. In the plot, the plot thing there was, the creature lurking around in the shadows that's mutated, that's going to go and try to talk to the heroine, but they have to shoot him because he's bad. I don't know. Horrible stereotype plot thing. There weren't any other special effects. They could have done some special effects. They didn't. One other point I'll have to make, the one part of the movie that I thought was a respite from the rest of it were the pool scenes. Now, why they had such a nice swimming pool out in the country like that, and this wasn't near the house, it was somewhere else. I thought it was going to be a natural pool, but no, it had a concrete rim and everything. They had the two girls in bikinis. They just happened to have bikinis handy, and they happened to look good in the pool. And they, quote, tastefully, unquote, photographed them swimming and getting in and out of the pool. It was kind of a respite from the rest of the movie. In 5BB.
Okay, NT5TM Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, because I'd forgotten about that. I remember having that same confusion over, I thought they were going to the swimming hole, because who builds a nice in-ground pool a quarter mile from their house? Okay. Yeah, that made practically no sense. And yes, who on a trek for survival from nuclear war takes their bikini with them? Erin says she will, but I think she might be being a little sarcastic. The effects. Let's see, the makeup was bad. The stock footage was scratchy. The day for night was ugly. They couldn't even make, muzzle flashes from the pistols. Bad effects, bad movie. I'm just proud that I suffered through this schlock in elite company with the rest of you. Thank you, Brenda, for being net control, and thank you, everybody else, for being here. Have a good rest of the evening. NT5TM.
Yes, I took this as penance for something. I have a hair shirt on, too. KI5PHC. Neil, go ahead.
Yes, the special effects. I think they were in 1967 or $69. Maybe it was filmed in the director's backyard and house. Probably a $100 budget for the makeup on the mutated figures they found in the growth on the face. I also did catch the reference to the natural pool that was a thing of beauty, and I was expecting a Blue Lagoon, but yes, it was a 1960s kidney pool. Yeah, special effects, not so good. I even listened to some of the score, and it didn't do much for me. It didn't do much. It looks like they just kind of pulled whatever out whenever. KFI, PHC, back to net.
Okay, WT9B, Michael.
The only thing I have trying to make sense of things, the bikinis I think are fairly easy to understand. It's just, daughter lives there. There was a nice pool. I'm sure she had a few bikinis, and she was one to the other woman that showed up. That's contemplating burning Brenda at the stake for the heresy of saying, some of the things that she said on the net. And I got to get back to that. WT9V.
Well, any girl with a suitcase is going to have a bikini in it, and the girl that lived there probably had several that she could loan out. I don't know why the guys didn't swim. I would. They weren't, I wouldn't want to do. KE5ICX, Tom.
Let's see, are we at the special effects? I think we are, but, we already talked about the characters such as they were. Got nothing really to comment on. Nice house, I guess. Well, kept up. The radiation didn't melt anybody down or anything. That was good. Yeah, and the nice daytime scenes, which I think is what Tony mentioned earlier. That's always real fun. That's an old trick in movies. You just shoot it with the f-stops down or something to create nighttime. Yay. I like the restoration we saw. That was kind of nice. The color was very good for a 16 millimeter terrible film. Who's to say? Could have been interesting. Maybe, no, probably not. If you had a good script and good actors and a good plot, you could have a good movie. Just saying. So, I don't have anything else for you on this one. Sorry you picked it, Brenda. It was one of those that just didn't... But it was short, and that was mentioned. It's true. It was short. And it had stock footage at the beginning, so we had a big bang and big explosions and everything, and then nothing else. So, okay, back to net control. I don't know what else to say because it was sort of like nothing going on here. Move along. KE5I6.
Okay, KG5PN, James.
KG5PMN. Other than the first commenter, I don't know what else to add about special effects. Just the guy hiding in bushes all the time, and the other thing that he had mentioned. The one thing IMBG points out, says the filming location was actually just south of Dallas in Paris. So I don't know. I'll go down there and find the house if you look hard enough. Other than that, I'm really thinking special effects. Back to the next page.
N5HYP, Tom.
Well, this is N5H5P. It was supposed to go away, but I'm still awake yet. Special effects, there weren't any. Really cheaply produced. Again, 16 millimeter film and bad makeup. Holly and Anna both about the same time said, this reminds me of Dark Shadows. a 1960s, early 1970s eerie sort of dark, vampire-based, I think it's rather bad acting. Not really. It just felt like a Dark Shadows episode in a funny way. I guess if there's any, actually we tried to watch a season of Dark Shadows a couple years ago on Netflix. It was on, and boy, that was bad too. 73, good night to all. We're looking forward to next week's movie from N5HYP.
KB9SOK, Sean.
Yes, KB9SOK. Yeah, the special effects were, not there. As everyone said, bad makeup. It's, even the Geiger counter didn't sound like a Geiger counter. Yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot there for effects. And yeah, the swimming pool being out in the middle of nowhere was pretty ridiculous. And yeah, the house looked nice. I guess stuff in the house looked real. I don't remember much about it all, about the score, about it, or the sound. To be quite honest, that must have been pretty forgettable as well. They're just trying to think of something maybe remotely decent here in this movie, but I just can't really think of anything good. Other than I guess they made it. I guess it was good that it was a made-for-TV movie, which means it didn't cost you anything to watch it. I guess back in 1969, so there's a plus. One more thing about the plot, not that because there ain't, but the other ridiculous thing I saw about was the whole telepathy with the boyfriend, the monster, could talk to her, with his mind. Once again, why would radiation do that? I mean, that's just, the whole thing's just crazy. Anyway, back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Okay, it's my turn. Special effects, there weren't any to speak of. So, I'm still very critical of the whole idea of this is such a great plan. We got a few weeks worth of food. What are you going to do for food after that? They're going to truck it in and it's going to be safe to eat. If you have a bomb shelter, you really want a lot of food stored down there, canned food. Food and water is going to be your most critical thing, and air. And if you got those, you're most of the way there to surviving. Anybody else want to check in? Well, anybody else have anything to say? It's been a long time since we finished up this early. Okay, KE5ICX. Tell us what I picked for next week.
Why, thank you, Brenda. And you picked a movie from 2017. It is called 222. No, not Room 22, although it had a really good film theme, movie theme, television series theme by Jerry Goldsmith. It's not Room 22. It's 222. A looping story from time travel something or other. It sounds like it could be good. We'll just have to wait and see. I'll send all the information out to the usual suspects. If you're listening and you would like to be a part of the usual suspects, send an email to me at Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray KE5ICX at yahoo.com, and I will put you on the list with everybody else, and you'll get links to the movie or where it's at All these movies are available free or online or at minimal cost. 99% of the time they are free. Maybe even 99.9% of the time they are free. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go to Facebook and go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and sign up there, and I will post them post-haste tomorrow morning sometime. So there you have it. 222 is next week's movie, a time-looping story. Back to net control. This is KE5I6.
Okay, I want to thank everybody that touched this one out. So we're going to go ahead and clear. This is WB50ZL.